where I think that has waned a little bit. So to do some publicity to keep that going.
Morning, Alan. Appreciate you coming in and talking with us. My first question for you, one of the 7 principles of the North American model of wildlife conservation is that wildlife resources are conserved and held in trust for all citizens. How do you see that belief integrating with the ongoing role of the Arizona Game and Fish Department and Commission?
As I was working on this interview, I noticed that one of the things in the booklet covering the rules and regulations was that wildlife in Arizona is actually owned by the state of Arizona, and the commission has been tasked with maintaining that. So that's the number one thing, is that it is it's owned by the public and not by private citizens. And so there's a fiduciary responsibility, if you were to maintain the proper levels and the proper harvesting. One of the things I also noticed, it looked like starvation was one of the number one cause of death of wildlife. So again, habitat restoration and other things, the commission can greatly help that. They do a wonderful job currently, but I think that can be added a little bit. They work with a lot of these groups to bring in more habitat for animals, to restore the habitat for them, like antelope and bighorn sheep and those kinds of things. I think that can be continued.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Tell us about how you see the role of commissioners in interacting with the department employees and pushing objectives.
Well, I think those are public meetings, and this is really coming from a town manager position. The commission sets the policies and then has the director implement those policies. It is not the commissioner's job to call up an individual employee and tell them they need to do this or that, or don't you know I'm on the commission. It can really cause a lot of trouble. The staff is there to implement the commission's wishes.
Thank you. Years ago, there was a major problem with access to parts of the public lands. Game and Fish Commission started working on that and built a committee that at that time was called the Landowner Lessee Sportsmen's Relations Committee. The commissioners on that committee and the representatives of different sporting clubs worked together to address problems that were resulting in locked gates, like trash and damage to water infrastructure and off-road careening up and down and resulting erosion, and many different problems that were the root cause of people not collaborating when they actually have joint interest. That we have the landowners and ranchers of this state are maintaining habitat for wildlife, but they don't want to see lots of trash and lots of problems resulting from public use. So this committee worked for quite some years and put out, they gained cooperation with landowners and put out signs that said, private land, but access is granted. Please do not leave trash, do not damage water infrastructure, etc. And that increased available land for recreation and made it easier to access that land. How do you rank the importance of continuing to build that relationship between the farmers, ranchers, and landowners in general, and sportsmen?
Well, living in an area that has a lot of agricultural economy, a lot of agricultural businesses. In fact, I think the state, meaning Game and Fish, purchased some land north of where I live just for that, for some access. This is key because these people's business, and it is their livelihood, relies on the land that they use. But as well, they need to be able to let the public have access, and so you have to have a common ground to meet there, and it's a serious issue, and it's a serious issue down in southern Arizona. As an example, maybe a rancher might lock off Dos Cabezas totally from public access simply because he wants to protect his property, but then people will cut fences or cut gate locks and things like that to gain access, and then the cattle get out, and there's all kinds of issues. And Arizona's an open range state, but still that it causes problems. So this is a key thing to have this kind of working relationship as well as with some of the endangered species in our area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell us about a recent commission directive or rule that you support or disagree with, and why?
Well, all of the rules that I have read, I would agree with it, but those commission directives seem to relate the harvesting of animals, and it looks like we have a really good model, because in the area where I currently live and I have a tag, the amount of wildlife has grown substantially. It's not unusual today to go into the mountains around southern Arizona and find Gould's turkeys everywhere. So the commission has done a very good job with that.
Say that loud, because I can't get a Gould's tag.
That guy keeps taking it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The state of Arizona has a process in which the public may place legislative measures on the ballot to be voted on during general elections. What are your thoughts on the use of this voter initiative process as it might pertain to managing wildlife?
Well, it seems that it doesn't seem like a good idea at all. Really, it looks like the way back in the 1920s that the state set up this commission so that there would be a non-political group that was helping to manage the wildlife and the resources. That seems to be a model that works very well, and when you get into initiatives, they can be driven by a lot of publicity sometimes that doesn't work out in the long run.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Alan, my next question for you, and I'll probably ask you two since we've got plenty of time. Some of your answers have been kind of brief so far. But what are your thoughts on fair chase as it applies to hunting and the ever-changing technology that produces better equipment and tools for sportsmen?
Well, I think that fair chase has been a great, seems like it's always been around, but it's been a great addition, because that's absolutely, is it working? Yeah, absolutely appropriate for what the sportsman is doing. The technology in a lot of this hunting stuff is pretty incredible. You can see muzzleloader firearms that are as accurate and can shoot long distances as a lot of the high-powered rifles. So it's very important to have those ethics involved in what we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And then I've got a second or a third question, I guess, for you. I saw where you received the Warrior Medal of Valor by the San Carlos Apache Tribe in 2010. Congratulations on that. But it got me thinking, and I wanted to get your thoughts. Arizona's got a large, it's almost mind-boggling when you look at the map and you see how much land in Arizona is got tribal land in Arizona with large populations of wildlife. And in the 15 or 20 years I've been real active with wildlife conservation groups, I see pretty much a total lack of cooperation between our department and the tribes around Arizona. We're currently working on expanding that through another national group I work with. But do you think there's any room to expand cooperation between Arizona Game and Fish Department, Commission, and First Nation tribes throughout Arizona?
Absolutely, I think there's an opportunity for that. One of the things the San Carlos group there, they have definitely moved forward in working. They became a part of SEGO, If you're familiar with what SEGO is, the Southeastern Arizona Council of Governments. And so they're looking for ways to expand their economic opportunities, and that certainly would give Arizona the opportunity to work with these tribes to enhance that. It certainly is an issue now where they're totally separate.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Anything you wanna share with us?
Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity, and it's a wonderful agency that does a whole lot of good work. They really do. It's hard saying they're very. I want to say this about the Arizona Game and Fish Department. They really get out there with the public and work very well with them. I know that's not your role here today, but it really is pretty incredible what they have accomplished in our state just over the last 20 or 30 years. As Arizona's population has more than doubled. It's pretty incredible. It's quite the challenge that the commission and the agency has.
Thank you for coming and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.